In this video, we're going to look at metaphors. So what are metaphors? Well, a metaphor states that one thing or an action is something that it literally isn't. So let's look at some examples. Dave is a bad apple. Well, we all know what that means, but Dave isn't literally a bad apple, so that's a metaphor. His critics are just squishable ants, so he can just brush them aside. So he doesn't care about his critics, but this is presented as a metaphor, saying that his critics are squishable ants. Well, clearly they're not literally squishable ants, so it's a metaphor. The ground was covered in a blanket of snow. Now, a blanket of snow, it's not literally a blanket, so that is also a metaphor. Her words had a bite to them. Now, clearly words don't literally have a bite, so that too is a metaphor. So they're not always in the format something is something that it isn't. Sometimes when words are used non-literally, that can also create a metaphor. So why should you care about metaphors? Well, metaphors are used to create mental pictures. They're far more common in creative writing than they are in business writing. So here's some examples of metaphors creating mental pictures. So conscious is a man's compass. Your conscience isn't literally a compass, so it's a metaphor, but you can see how your conscience guides you like a compass. All religions, arts and sciences are branches of the same tree. Well, they're not literally branches of a tree, so it's a metaphor. These waves know when you're off balance. Clearly, waves don't know things, so the word know here is not being used literally. That makes it a metaphor. You've given me something to chew on. Well, you could literally have given somebody something to chew on if you'd given them a toffee, say, but if you've given them an idea or some advice, then this would be a metaphor because it's not something you literally chew on. It really means to mull over or think about. The rich man had a cold heart. Again, the word cold here creates the metaphor. His heart is not literally cold. So let's carry on looking at why metaphors are important. Well, metaphors are useful for spicing up your writing. Look at this first example. We can jumpstart innovation among the workforce. So the word jumpstart is not being used literally. It's what you would do to a car. But it's far spicier than something like to improve. Next example. Please write a protein-rich one-pager for the CEO's back-to-work pack. So the metaphor protein-rich, there's no actual protein in the one-page document you're going to write. It's just a more engaging way of saying something like executive level. So please write an executive level one-pager. No, protein-rich. Get all the important stuff on there. Metaphors can also be used in business writing. And providing you use them sparingly, they can be memorable, impactful. They can be used for emphasis, and they can even make you look confident. They can also be used to clarify your stance on an issue. Plan A is throwing the pilot out of a stricken aircraft to make it lighter. Now, Plan A might be something complex, but this metaphor makes it clear you think Plan A is counterproductive. Here's a bit more about why you should care about metaphors. Metaphors can aid understanding. They're good for explaining new or complex ideas by relating it to something familiar. So look at this example. Our physical being is the hardware of a computer. Culture is the operating system. So it compares culture to the operating system, the thing that makes it work, the thing behind it all. Metaphors can be memorable and impactful. We must throw a party on our homepage. Now this is a more visual and memorable way of saying our homepage needs to be more interesting. Let's throw a party on our homepage. But be careful, because metaphors can sink you as well. Overusing metaphors in business writing can portray you as flippant or dull. Like I said, metaphors are most commonly used in creative writing. Now, we can't talk about metaphors without talking about similes. Now, a simile is a comparison of two things, usually using the word as or like. So let's compare some. She is a star, so something is something else. That's a metaphor. Let's look at a similar example. She is like a star. So that's a simile, using the word like. It's a comparison. His eyes were skewers. So something is something else. His eyes were skewers. His eyes equals skewers. His eyes were like skewers. This time it's a comparison, using the word like. Her skewer eyes pierced her rivals. So remember, metaphors can be created by using non-literal version of words. Her eyes fixed on her rivals like skewers pierce meat. So here we got a comparison, making it a metaphor. So, to summarize, what is a metaphor? Well, metaphors are the basil and garlic of writing, which itself is a metaphor. No, but a metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which it is not literally applicable. He's a bull in a china shop. One thing is something that it isn't. She gave him an icy stare, so the stare was not literally icy, making that a metaphor too. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out some of our other videos on grammarmonster.com, and you'll also find us on Twitter and Facebook.